Welcome to Spiritual Ambition, where we tune in to awaken our divine nature and explore the provocative inner force compelling us toward our fullest potential. If you've achieved external success but feel a deeper calling, if you're tired of dimming your light to fit in, and you know there's a more powerful way to live and lead and love, you're in the right place. Host Donna Bond is a best-selling author, modern-day high priestess, and catalyst for personal transformation. Together, we're birthing a new paradigm of loving leadership, integrating our humanity with divine wisdom as our individual awakening serves collective evolution. Here's your host of Spiritual Ambition, Donna Bond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome if you're here for the first time. This is episode 9 of Spiritual Ambition, where we tune in to experience our divine nature. And today, we're going to look at why does this keep happening to me? And we're going to decode our sacred soul plan. Our sacred soul plan is our spiritual curriculum. Sacred Soul Plan is my fancy name for spiritual curriculum, this agenda that our soul has for our deepest growth and learning. And, you know, as I shout this, why does this keep happening to me? Here I am with the pouring rain again, just starting to kick up really heavy at 2:22 p.m. Pacific time every other Tuesday when I am broadcasting this show live. So why does this keep happening to me? If you've ever felt like you are stuck in a cosmic replay, you're having the same drama with different people, you're having the same frustrations with a different job, you're having the same heartbreak with a different relationship, these same patterns are following you everywhere you go over the course of your life, you're about to discover something really great and amazing. What if I told you that these repeats, these patterns that happen to you again and again over the course of your life, they're not happening to you. They might be happening for you, but they are certainly happening through you. And today we're going to take a deep dive as I'm going to share some pretty heartfelt, raw details about my own journey and sort of how I have identified behind me this curriculum that is being presented before me. So today we're going to decode this spiritual curriculum, and I'm going to take you on a soul trip where I'm going to give you some questions that will guide you through your own journey of helping you identify where are those breadcrumbs in your own journey that are trying to get your attention. Your soul is trying to get your attention. And sometimes it's knocking softly, and sometimes it's banging on the door for you to pay attention. And these repeat experiences that we have are major clues in being able to decode what is it that we are here to grow through. So we're going to begin today as we begin all spiritual ambition sessions. We're going to close our eyes and we're going to call in the light. This is your opportunity to do a time out for yourself. Instead of multitasking and running around, consider sitting, closing out all of your notifications, allowing yourself to land right here and now into this present moment where you can tune in to your higher essence, to your soul, to your original wisdom, because this part of you, this higher part of you, wants so badly to participate in your life. And when you can give it your attention, you begin to get the information that you need for your awakening, for your growth, for your highest mission, for the reason that you took embodiment and came here to this life, to this crazy planet. Welcome, everyone. Jennifer, hello. Vivian, Krish, welcome. Anil, is that how you say that? Jennifer Rose, hello. Welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's just awesome to have this sacred time out together. So unless you're driving, I want to invite you to go ahead and close your eyes and let's just do a little attunement. Slowing down your heart rate, slowing down your breath, just allowing the beautiful energy of spirit to move through you, animating you, breathing you, reminding you of your humanity. Infinite universe, once again, we call ourselves forward into your loving. We ask to be cleared, filled, surrounded, and protected with the clear white light of living love. We ask that any karma, negativity, or imbalance, any rigidity, constriction, distortion, limitation, aggravation, frustration, any energy or vibrational frequency that is vibrating at anything less than the frequency of divine loving that may be residing anywhere in our consciousness. We ask that anything with a resonant frequency less than divine loving be lifted and transmuted at this time, taken to the highest realms of light and sound, and dispersed back into the nothingness, into the space we recognize grace, light, peace, joy, upliftment, graciousness, generosity, gratitude, epiphany, awareness, heart opening. We acknowledge and we welcome only those divine beings of light who love each of us unconditionally, who work for the divine plan and who work for the light. We welcome only you into our sacred space here today. We ask for your support and assistance in bringing forward healing, revelation, and wisdom of the heart for each person who is witnessing this broadcast, either live or catching the replay, keeping in mind everyone's unique destiny for the highest good of all concerned. We ask that only that which is for the highest good of all concerned be brought forward here today as we examine this sacred criteria for our life's growth and expansion, for our soul's highest purpose. We are grateful and we say thank you. So be it. Thank you. Hello, welcome to those of you who have just tuned in. This is an opportunity to tune in to your heart, to your essence, to remember that we are all spiritual beings making our way through this epic human adventure. And the intention of this show is to support you in remembering that and to experience your divinity on the multiple levels of your consciousness. So before we get into talking about our sacred soul plan, we are going to send some love and light around the world. We begin every show with our sacred circle of light. Each episode, the entire community comes together and we intentionally send healing energy and divine love out and around the planet to those who need it most, those who might be calling for a blessing of love, of light, of upliftment. And you have the opportunity to go to spiritualambition.sacredlight.com, and you can submit the name of anyone who you would like to be a recipient of these divine gifts and our beautiful spiritual energy of loving that we empower together and send into the hearts of those who need to receive some love and light. So today we are starting out with Aylin, and I hope that I'm saying that correctly. Aylin was submitted during the last episode. So we send a blessing to Aylin, Nicole, David, Annie, Eve, Jeanette, Kent, Michael, Christy, and Isamar. If there's anyone else that you'd like to put into the chat, all right, so let's just close our eyes and put our attention on our heart space for just a moment and send that collective intention that all of those named receive our loving. What generosity for us to come together and hold this intention to send light to people who are blessed in receiving it. Sarah, we add you to the list. Krish, we add you to the list. Dr. Praya, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Kodar. All right. Again, if there's somebody that you would like to include on our list, you can visit spiritualambitionsacredlight.com and submit their name. All right, everyone. Well, today we're going to do a soul trip, but I'm going to do a lot of storytelling. I do have a process for you, and I'll share how you can get that process. But I want to talk a little bit first. I just want to do a little education on these terms. So the last episode, we spoke about your sacred soul signature. And your sacred soul signature is this dynamic code that is carried in your energetics. It's carried in your DNA. It's carried in your cellular tissue. And it literally holds the code for your fullest realized potential. And we talked about entelechy in the same way that an acorn blooms and grows into a great oak tree. And in the same way, a caterpillar becomes a butterfly by completely dissolving itself and rebirthing itself. You also have an entelechy, a code that is within you. And so when we talk about activating this code, we cannot activate the code without our sacred soul plan. So we have our sacred soul signature and our sacred soul plan. And these two elements work together. So your sacred soul plan is your spiritual curriculum. And your spiritual curriculum is basically your soul's agenda for the lessons that you have taken embodiment and come to this life to grow through, to learn, to experience. And last episode, we talked about breadcrumbs. And we're going to talk about breadcrumbs again, but in a little bit of a different way. You know, when I say this term breadcrumbs, and that comes from Hansel and Gretel. And Hansel and Gretel dropped the breadcrumbs so that they could find their way home. And so I want you to think about this in the same way, that all of these breadcrumbs are leading you to your way home. And your way home is back to the truth of who you are, to your essence, to your heart, to your higher self, your soul, your spirit. That's the truth of you. You know, we all have these personalities and these egos and these chattery, noisy minds that think we know what's best and want to be in control so that we can feel safe and secure. And we like familiarity. We like to get our way. These are all patterns of the ego mind and the personality. But the truth of you is held in these energetics that you can't quite see or touch. Now, they are certainly expressed through the animation of your physical being, expressed through your personality, and these gifts that we all have. We were looking at the breadcrumbs that sort of give us the clues about those gifts. That I have been obsessed with spirituality and metaphysics and psychology since a young age, right? Those were all little breadcrumbs. But the breadcrumb that we're going to talk about today as it pertains to your sacred soul plan is more about a trail. It's the breadcrumb trail. And I want to start with a story. And, you know, I went down a deep rabbit hole designing a process that we could use that I can share with you to support you in excavating your own breadcrumb trail. Because as I began to see my breadcrumb trail, a lot of lights went off for me and a lot of things were illuminated that really support me in moving forward in my life. And so this is one of the reasons, like, why do I need to know about my sacred soul plan? Why do I want to know about my spiritual curriculum? Well, the more I know and understand what it is I am here to learn, the better equipped I am to be able to engage in that learning from an intentional place, from a conscious awareness that allows me to respond to life in a different way than the way that my conditioned self, the regimented patterns of my ego mind are reacting. Right? Because when we're on autoplay, we react. But when we're operating from that place of presence and that place of conscious intention, then we respond. So what happens with our sacred soul plan is this trail gets laid out over the course of our life. And so I'm going to start back in kindergarten because as I unfold this story for you, I want you to think about your own life and sort of what trails are beginning to be illuminated inside of your consciousness as I share the stories of how I went from being silenced to now having a live show that is broadcasting in a lot of places. Even when I think about it, my heart beats a little bit. I like to not really think about that because it makes me nervous and then I lose my stream of consciousness. So there I was in kindergarten and I'm in the back of the classroom and I am chatting away to the girl who's sitting next to me. Da, 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 da. Blah, 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 blah. Who even knows what my 5-year-old self was going on and on about? Well, the teacher called me out for talking. But then she said, and Donna, try sitting like a lady. Well, I can still hear all of the metal chairs as every single kid in that class pushed themselves back away from their desk and spun around to see me squatting on my chair. Every single kid looked at me, and the shame came over me like a wet blanket that I carried off with me for a long time. So that was the first imprint of closing down my voice. It was very significant. And I don't have a very good memory about my childhood. So the fact that I remember in living color and vivid detail about this experience says something. So I give you that also as a gold nugget that you can begin to figure out, like, what stories do you have that sort of stand out in your mind? Well, they stand out in your mind for a reason. So let's fast forward. Now I'm like 14, 15. I'm in junior high school. I'm in the drama club. Imagine that, the drama club. And my girlfriends somehow convinced me that I should read aloud a poem that I wrote secretly for Joe Diadio. And who knows if Joe Diadio is catching this on the live stream right now. That would be pretty funny. If you're there, Joe, give us a shout out. So I step up to the podium and I share my heart. I share my vulnerability. I share my transparency. And everybody laughs. Everybody laughs because even though I thought my poem was a secret and that I was the only person who knew that I was talking to Joe Diadio in the audience, everybody knew. Everybody knew. And so that laughing again made me make some internal promises inside of myself that it was not safe for me to be speaking up or speaking out. It was even more unsafe for me to be sharing something intimate from my heart. All right. So I managed to make my way through hotel school and have a pretty prominent career in hospitality where I didn't really have to speak that much. I did it occasionally here and there, but I kept myself as much as I possibly could. So I'm thinking about coaching. It's the very beginning of this whole new career change that I made in the middle of my life. And I write a blog post because there's something in me that's bubbling up that must be shared, but it's entirely too scary to share it verbally or vocally. So what do? I hide behind my keyboard and I write a blog post. And I write a blog post about the work of Dr. David Hawkins and the map of consciousness, and how my understanding of this work actually just made my head explode, because understanding the different frequencies that our emotions have made so much sense to me as I understand our true nature as the energy of love. And we get buried underneath all of these lower, heavier, dense frequency energies like shame and guilt and apathy. And so my voice was hidden underneath this shame, but I'm starting to break out a little bit. And so I write this blog post. I hang it up on my website. I promise you, at the time that I did this, back in like 2016, no one knew who Donna Bond was. I was barely even thinking about coaching, let alone actually coaching. I was nobody. So I hang up this blog post, and 2 months later, I receive an email from the Hawkins Foundation saying that I was illegally talking about this trademark term, the map of consciousness, and that if I didn't take down my blog post, I would be sued for $100,000. Oh my God. Can you guys even believe this? Of course, I took the post down straight away. But I just want to demonstrate how, once again, the universe is giving me feedback to keep it quiet, to keep it zipped up. So we're going to fast forward one more time. Now I have completed my master's program in spiritual psychology. Thank you, Jennifer. Yes. Oh, wow. It was like, are you kidding me? But I didn't stop writing. Now I publish an article in a magazine. And this is, I don't know, 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. And my article is called Push My Buttons. And it's all about projections and how the world is a mirror. And it was very much about many things that I learned at the University of Santa Monica. However, I neglected to properly attribute some very specific terminology that belonged to the University of Santa Monica. I did not properly credit them in my article. So I received a note from my professor, an email. Oh my God. I mean, the shame, falling from grace, literally like falling from grace in the eyes of mom and dad. You know, I go off into the world. I'm this light bearer of teaching and bringing higher consciousness to people. And I get my hand slapped. And oh my God. I mean, it took me a year to get over that one. I'm not going to lie. I had to work my process for quite a long time. But I just, again, I hope you're tracking with me all of these stories about having my voice shut down. But then we get to the moment of truth. And I'll share you the story about the moment of truth, but I also want to go on the record to say that I'm not foolish enough to think that this is done for me. I wish that it were done. And I know that it's not, because now the use of my voice is being challenged in other ways, which I'll share a little bit about that. But okay, so here's a very big shift. At this point, I'm now catching on to the fact that this is part of my spiritual curriculum. Like, you can't even make up these stories, right? Like, I'm going to be sued for $100,000 because of a blog post that I hung up, or my professor, who I absolutely love and adore and worshiped, is giving me a hand slap. Like, think about it. These are very significant points in time that all have this very strong and consistent theme. So in October of 2023, not that long ago, I attend an advanced spiritual psychology workshop for the weekend. And it's all online. And I had raised my hand to share. And each time I raise my hand to share at the University of Santa Monica, it is always an incredibly challenging opportunity for me to stand forward in front of 200 people and find my authentic voice. Usually what ends up happening to me is I get like this shiny polish or this veneer that comes forward. And then I don't know, say something that doesn't matter or doesn't mean anything. And it isn't quite as it isn't effective at all compared to what it is I'm holding in my heart and what it is I truly want to express authentically. It's been very difficult for me. So I have my hand up, and the sharing has gone on for probably 45 minutes, like a long time. And everybody's getting ready to go to lunch. And there's like 5 minutes left in this session. And I can see Mary Holnick, and she's intuiting like who to call on. And I'm thinking to myself, don't call on me, don't call on me, don't call on me, don't call on me. Donna Bond. As soon as she called on me, I made some, sarcastic remark about how hungry everybody must be. And I've got 5 minutes to make my point so that everybody can go to lunch. And she asked me to please reframe that. So right in that moment, I lost my footing. And what happened inside of me was I didn't leave my side. I didn't abandon myself. I didn't come on with some meaningless share and code it over and make it last a couple of minutes and then get off the stage. I stayed with myself. And in that moment, transformation happened for me because I didn't abandon myself. And that was part of the learning. I have gone on to say a lot of things about a lot of things to a lot of people in a lot of places in the world. I will continue to go on to speak and share and teach and offer. And not everybody cares or is interested in what it is I have to share. But you know what? I care. I'm interested in what I have to share. And so when I can align with myself and support myself and be a cheerleader to my own higher purpose and higher mission, then progress is being made because I'm changing the relationship that I have to my voice, to the way that I value and perceive what it is I'm doing with my voice and how I'm sharing it. And even deeper still, I'm building an inner trust. And when I build an inner trust for myself, I am less reliant on what other people think or say. And when I'm less reliant on what other people think or what they have to say about what it is I'm doing, I don't distort myself. I don't confine myself or censor myself. I'm more free. I'm more natural. I'm more authentic. And being able to release an authentic expression is very much part of my sacred soul plan and my spiritual curriculum. So, how is this for you as you're thinking about this? Jennifer McCormick, thank you for your shout out. I appreciate that. And Vivian, thank you. Dario, hello from Italy. When you tune in to your own breadcrumb trail, and I don't want you to hurt your head around this. The invitation is to allow this information to be revealed to you. And I even want to say, following the show and as you move forward in your week and through the rest of today and into tomorrow and the next day, see what memories are presenting themselves to you. Because there's the ego part of you and the personality part of you that's listening to this show and hearing the story that I'm telling you. But there's the higher part of you, your original wisdom, that is tuning into the invitation that is being laid before you for your own inner excavation. And that's really what this is. This is like an archaeological dig. And as I started to design a process that would lead you through this, I did come up with a process that has 5 sections to it. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be a whole weekend workshop. It's not something that we can do quickly, because this is like a big deal, understanding what your spiritual curriculum is. So I am going to share with you a process that I did design for you. It's step 1 of 5, and it's called Following the Breadcrumb Trail. But I have questions in here for you that not only look at these sort of evolutionary moments that happened in your life, but where have you had deep resistance? Because this is the other really key piece of this. Our spiritual curriculum, it's not meant to be easy. Sorry. These aren't things that come easy or quick or natural to us. These are the things that we secretly hope for, that we dream about doing, but then we think, oh, I could never do that. I could never do that. So there's this element of this push-pull that happens in the dynamic of this. So when you tune into that, what comes forward? In this process, we look at, there's some questions around your shadow aspects. And our shadow aspects are very key in our spiritual curriculum, because along the trail and along the path, we have these inner adversaries, I'll call them. And these inner adversaries, we want to pick a fight with them. We want to be angry at them. We want to make wrong the parts of us that are these shadows, right? We hear the term shadow and everybody's like, oh, I don't want to do any shadow work. Richard Rudd from the Gene Keys says a little bit of shadow is good. Our shadows are blocking our light. Our shadows are what keep us from the realization and the reclamation of our power. And as I started writing this process, I ended up going into a whole thing about power. And that's why I can't give it to you today, because it's so undone and it needs so much more time in the incubation of my own consciousness for me to really develop something that is of value to you. So stick around. It will be released eventually. But these shadow aspects are so important when we're walking a conscious path of spiritual awakening, because behind these shadow aspects is all kinds of energy that we need to be able to realize our full potential, that we need to be able to make the contribution that we have come to this life to make. So I'm seeing in the chat, somebody's asking for a reading. I do give individual gene key readings. I'm a guide for the gene keys, and it's not really a reading. It's a conversation about your key archetypes. And in that, we look at your shadows, your gifts, and your divine gifts. And your divine gifts and your gifts are hanging out in your sacred soul signature, right? These are the yummy pieces of your essence that are part of your energetic. You know, I was meeting with somebody just before the show today, and her purpose, she has the divine gift of presence. My God, just imagine that. Like, her purpose is presence. So when we can imagine being in the energetic of someone who holds the emanation of presence, oh my God, that's so delicious, because inside of that presence is love. And all of the derivatives of everything that we think that we want, that we're out chasing in the physical world, is all held within the essence of our true being. And the only way that we can get to that is to make our way through our sacred soul plan so that we are revealing our sacred soul signature. Our sacred soul signature is covered up by all of the patterns of our ego. But we make our way through this curriculum because every time we go through a trial or a challenge, and our sacred soul plan, you know, it's kind of layered with trials and challenges because that's life, guys, right? That's life. And every time we face one of those, part of us dies. And as part of us dies, more of our true essence comes online. More of our soul takes up residence in our physical beingness. And then that energy is what is broadcasting out from our field. More truth, more purity. And I don't mean purity like in a good girl kind of a way. I mean an unobstructed, clean brilliance of your truth that shines forward as the magnetism that is radiating from your person. Doesn't it sound so good? It does, and it is, and we love it and we want it. And we have to go through our sacred soul plan, and we have to learn from our sacred soul plan. So here's the big spiritual truth that I want you to take away from today. Life is not happening to you. And all of these repeat experiences that are on replay, and like you're like, oh my God, I'm in different geography and I've got different players, but like the same thing is happening. That is a headline clue. So I really want you to pay attention to those repeat experiences. But here's the paradigm shift. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. It's technically happening through you, but that's an advanced class that we'll get to down the road. But right now, just the invitation is it's happening for you. So if it's happening for you, how can you begin to relate differently to it? Because when these repeat things happen again and again, like what did I do? Again and again over the course of my life, from as early as being 5 years old, I shut down. I kept to myself. I hid. I had sort of a false veneer that had to come forward in order for me to get along in the world. But that wasn't the real me. That wasn't the truth and the authenticity of what really wants to come forward and be shared through this vessel. So it kept happening again and then happening again. And again, like I said, I'm not at the end of the line with this. I know that. But during that class, when I didn't abandon myself and I was aware that 200 people were waiting to go to lunch and I kept breathing and I took up a little bit more space and I brought my attention inward and down and I grounded into the present moment. And then it was in that present moment that I was able to share from the heart, truthfully and authentically. So in this process that I have for you, you can go to www.spiritualambitionsoultrip, TRIPP, 2 Ps, Spiritual Ambition, Sacred Soul Trip. It's up on the screen. You can grab this process and it's going to take you through some questions around where have you had resistance, what kind of shadow aspects might be showing up in your space. We look at family patterns and like ancestral lineage, body wisdom, and karmic connections. That's always a fun one. We're going to do a whole show on karmic connections. But these questions will prompt your thinking and will support you in being able to reveal some of your breadcrumb trail. And we have more than one breadcrumb trail, but for today, hopefully you will find this helpful. I'm just reading a comment from Jennifer. My soul purpose is nurturing and caring for my sons who have disabilities. Oh, blessings. I couldn't decide if I wanted to work with the elderly or children when I left school, so I chose a nursing home, which was very educational, being only 16. And then at 22, I had my second son who had cerebral palsy. And 3 years later, my baby was diagnosed with Williams syndrome. I gave up work, and I've just been a constant for my 3 amazing boys. Well, Jennifer, we're sending the light to you. I acknowledge you for embracing the mission that was at hand and the invitation that life was laying out for you. And I can't even begin to imagine the challenges that are layered into an experience like that. And just in you being able to share that today with all of us tells me that you're at a place of peace with it and you're embracing it and engaging with it and learning from it in ways that we probably can't even begin to imagine. So thank you so much for your share. All right. Well, we are nearly at the end of our time here. And one of my favorite sections is the celebration of love's alchemy. This is where we take a gentle pause to recognize the extraordinary magic that is woven into our day-to-day lives. Each episode, we take a moment of loving celebration for something that might seem ordinary or even contrary at first glance, but it holds within it a spark of brilliance as we celebrate and remind ourselves why we chose to take a body and come here to human land. So from the sweetness of a juicy orange to the blessing of an emotional trigger, we turn our attention to the less obvious causes for celebration and the little things that we might take for granted. Through loving appreciation and gratitude, we uplift ourselves and our vibration with the power of love, sending ripples of good juju out and around the planet. We are all alchemists of upliftment. When we can turn the seemingly mundane into a marvel of magnificence, as we see the whole human experience as the alchemy for our wisdom. You know, the soul is in it for the experience. So what we're going to bring our celebration of love's alchemy to today is our spiritual curriculum itself. And I can tell you firsthand that I have damned my spiritual curriculum. I have been pissed off about my spiritual curriculum. I mean, when you look at my gene keys, I'm dealing with shadow aspects of control and struggle and inadequacy. Like, these are not fun things. And there's blessings in every single one of them. So as we bring our love to our spiritual curriculum and we just honor our soul's wisdom and honor the journey that we make to be able to experience all that life has to offer us, knowing that we come for all of it. We don't just come for the rainbows and the unicorns and the yummy, good, pretty stuff. We come for the pain and the grief and the agony and the strife. We really do. So this week, as we bring our love to our spiritual curriculum, our curriculum transforms our resistance into divine cooperation. And that in and of itself, transforming our resistance into divine cooperation, means you're like on the God plan, right? It's like, it's not my will, it's thy will. And I'm not trying to get into any religious territory on this. I just want to remind us all that your soul has your back. The universe has your back. There is a higher power that is so much more intelligent than any one of our ego minds and personalities. And we see all around us. I mean, nature is the perfect example, right? There's this divine unfoldment happening. No one is telling the flowers when to bloom or telling the birds how to fly. These are all natural things that have a divine orchestration to them. Our lives have a divine orchestration to them. Your sacred soul signature holds the code for your fullest realized potential in this life. So bring your love to your curriculum. Honor it. Honor it. So the second thing is, it gives us an opportunity to honor and to embody our wholeness. And this is loving all the parts of ourselves. And this is really what the shadow work is about. And if you would like to look at your shadows and you would like to sit in a conversation with me about your gene keys, and we can look at these different archetypes, you can just go to my website and click on the work with me button and find your way to my calendar. So donnabond.com. And you'll see on there, I do this gene key session. And I would be happy to sit with you and explore some of these aspects. I'm going to work with control until I take my last breath. And so it's in my best interest to sort of make friends with that shadow pattern, because it's part of my makeup. It's part of the personality's framework in this experience. And so my soul has chosen that as the learning platform. So it's super helpful if we can stop demonizing the aspects of ourselves that we don't like. And the more we can get our arms around all the pieces, the more we integrate our wholeness, the more we embody our fullness. And the longer I'm on the spiritual path, the more I am aware it is about loving our humanness. It is about loving our humanness. So when we do this and we walk the path of our sacred soul plan with our eyes open, with the framework and the perception that this terrible thing that's happening, this challenge that has been laid before me, this tragedy that I didn't ask for, that I don't want, all of these things are invitations, inviting you to relate to them differently. So when you find the breadcrumb trail and you begin to see these same types of experiences present themselves to you again and again, how can you relate to it this time with more acceptance, with more compassion, with more understanding that this is blatantly an opportunity to grow and learn and evolve and expand? Our soul is always going to call us out of our comfort zone because the soul gets bored with the same things that the ego likes to have all familiar, right? The soul can only expand when it is in the unknown, when we are tiptoeing through the uncharted territory. So you're going to be given a lot of invitations to make your way through that. And instead of resisting it and bracing yourself against it, open, embrace it, love it all. All right, I'm going to close our sacred space. I want to thank you so much for being here. You are amazing. The fact that you have taken this time today to tune in and to share this time with us just speaks to how committed you are to your own growth and evolution as you make your way through your sacred soul plan. I want to invite you to just close your eyes again, and we just send the light up ahead to all of our sacred soul plans, blessing them with wisdom, with awareness, with insight, with acceptance, and with loving. We are now closing all energetic lines of communication between any of us, closing all open portals, gateways, channels, agreements, and lines of communication between any of us and the spirit world. We are grateful and we say thank you. We are closing this space with love, as love, in love, for love, by love. I'm Donna Bond. This was Spiritual Ambition. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like and subscribe. Blessings. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you, everyone.